All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're breaking down the ultimate biological showdown that's literally fascinating the medical and bodybuilding communities right now. We're looking at the reigning heavyweight champion of weight loss therapies, and standing right next to it, its highly anticipated successor. They might sound similar, but under the hood, they are fundamentally different machines.
To really understand why the scientific community is so completely captivated right now, just consider this one staggering number, 71.2. That's the average weight loss, in pounds, achieved by the new investigational drug, Retatrutide, in a recent late-stage clinical trial. That number is a total paradigm shift. We're no longer just talking about dropping a few stubborn pounds here. We're looking at body composition changes that actually rival bariatric surgery. And all of this from a weekly peptide injection.
But hey, before we unpack the mechanics of that massive number, we first have to establish our baseline with the incredibly potent compound that's currently dominating the whole landscape, tirzepatide. Now, if you follow metabolic health at all, you already know tirzepatide, which is widely available right now under the brand names Zepbound and Mounjaro, has essentially rewritten the entire rulebook on medical weight loss. This dominance is perfectly illustrated by the SURMOUNT-5 trial. This was a massive 72-week study that objectively pitted tirzepatide head-to-head against the previous champion, semaglutide. And while semaglutide patients lost a highly respectable 13.7% of their body weight, tirzepatide blew past that, achieving a 20.2% reduction. So the really crucial point here is exactly how tirzepatide achieved those numbers. It didn't just use a higher dose, it used a fundamentally different approach. While older drugs only mimicked one hormone, GLP-1, which suppresses appetite, tirzepatide utilized a dual agonist approach. It basically stacks a second hormone pathway, GIP, right on top of GLP-1. This dual action synergizes in the body, breaking right past those standard plateaus you usually see with single hormone therapies. Which, of course, naturally leads us to ask the million-dollar biotech question, what happens when you add yet another receptor target to this already powerful physiological framework? I mean, if 2 is better than 1, is 3 better than 2? When we look at these two head-to-head, it becomes crystal clear what actually makes them different. While tirzepatide is a dual agonist, retatrutide takes that whole +1 concept even further by becoming a triple agonist. It keeps the GLP-1 and the GIP, but adds a third key player to the mix, glucagon. And that specific addition, the glucagon receptor, is a total game changer. See, while GLP-1 and GIP are primarily focused on reducing your appetite and making you feel full, glucagon acts quite a bit differently. It actually ramps up your baseline energy burning. It tells your body to release stored glucose and burn it up. So you aren't just suppressing the calories going in, you're actively pushing past limits by increasing the energy being expended out. It is literally a metabolic 1-2-3 punch. We can see exactly what this triple threat mechanism does in the real world too, through the highly anticipated data from the Phase 3 TRIUMPH-4 trial. This was a massive global registration trial evaluating adults with obesity or who were overweight with knee osteoarthritis. And the result? 28.7. At the highest 12 milligram dose over 68 weeks, patients on retatrutide experienced an unprecedented average body weight loss of 28.7%. To put that crazy number into perspective, nearly 60% of the participants in this group lost over a quarter of their entire body weight. We're talking about fundamentally altering a patient's metabolic trajectory. But it's not just about the number on the scale, because this specific trial tested patients with knee osteoarthritis. We got some incredible secondary endpoint data. The triple agonist reduced their pain scores by an astounding 75.8%. Actually, more than 1 in 8 patients were left completely 100% pain-free by the end of the trial. The systemic relief from carrying less weight, combined with those metabolic changes, is just profound. Looking at this data side by side really fully illustrates the sheer magnitude of the clinical leap retatrutide represents over the current generation. You've got tirzepatide, the dual agonist, sitting at around 20.2% weight loss. And then you have retatrutide, the triple agonist, jumping all the way up to 28.7%. That 8.5% efficacy gap, that is a massive leap forward in peptide therapeutics. However, while the raw data is completely awe-striking, we really have to pause and look objectively at the clinical realities here. Because in biology, well, there's always a trade-off, right? What is the actual biological cost of pushing our metabolism this hard? You simply cannot hack complex cellular networks without generating side effects. Let's start with the expected stuff.
Both drugs share standard gastrointestinal adverse events, which are incredibly common as the body adjusts during the initial dose escalation phases. For retatrutide at the highest doses, nausea hit over 43% of patients. Diarrhea, constipation, and vomiting were also highly prevalent. This is generally par for the course with incretin therapies. Your gut is basically hitting the brakes, and your body, naturally, reacts to that.
But here's where things take kind of an unexpected turn. What's really interesting about retatrutide's phase 3 data is a completely new safety signal that emerged, one that wasn't actually seen in its earlier mid-stage trials, and frankly, one that caught analysts a bit by surprise.
This condition is called dysesthesia. It's an abnormal sense of touch that causes normal sensations to feel unusual or even painful. It was reported in nearly 21% of patients on the highest 12 milligram dose of retatrutide. For comparison, only 0.7% of the placebo group felt this. This marks a totally unique safety profile compared to its predecessors. While Lilly noted these events were generally mild, it's a very clear sign that a triple agonist is impacting the nervous system in novel ways.
This whole dynamic, combining standard GI issues with new sensory side effects, absolutely contributed to higher dropout rates. The discontinuation rate for the highest dose was 18.2%. Though, fascinatingly, and you almost never hear this in medical trials, the source notes that some patients actually discontinued due to perceived excessive weight loss. The drug was literally working too fast and too aggressively for some patients with lower baseline BMIs to even tolerate.
So it's vital to ground ourselves in where these compounds currently stand. Tirzepatide is a daily reality right now. It's FDA approved. Your doctor can literally prescribe it today. Retatrutide, on the other hand, is still deep in the investigatory phase. It has 7 more rigorous phase 3 trials that won't wrap up until late 2026. So while the triple agonist is coming, the dual agonist is the reality of the present.
What this explainer really highlights is the broader reality of therapeutic peptides. As the pharmaceutical industry engineers these peptides to stack more and more receptor targets, from 1 to 2 to 3, we aren't just flipping a single switch. We're manipulating incredibly complex biological networks. These are what scientists call pleiotropic effects, meaning a single peptide causes a cascade of downstream reactions, impacting everything from your digestion to your energy expenditure to your brain health and your nervous system.
Which brings us to a really poignant thought from the Huberman medical discussions on peptides. These are very potent compounds. If you have it in mind that peptide therapeutics, because they aren't hormone therapies, are not without their potential risks, you would be wrong. As we eagerly anticipate this next generation of medicine, it leaves us with a critical question to ponder. As we unlock the ability to engineer such extreme metabolic results, are we fully prepared as a society to navigate the complex physiological trade-offs required to get there?